Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
These young people live in different cities and study different subjects at different universities. In just a few minutes, they are all going to take their exams. Some of them will do it from the comfort of their armchair, and others will go to a special exam centre. To ensure that they are all tested in the same way and that the grades are fair, the examination process must be carefully regulated. Enter Examus, an online invigilator service, or, in other words, a tool to help supervise students during an examination. Examus uses automated algorithms to identify students and analyze their behavior to detect violations of exam regulations. This information is then passed on to a human invigilator who monitors and adjusts the system. The user identification process is based on face recognition technology. The system compares an image from the student's webcam with one or more of their sample images. The invigilator then compares the images manually. This comprehensive method gives a 98% accurate user identification. What's more, there are plans to include additional identifying algorithms, such as electronic signatures, ECGs, and other biometric measurements. Examus automatically records any violations and informs the invigilator. If the student looks away from the screen for longer than is warranted, if the active window on the computer suddenly changes, if the student leaves their desk, or if someone else is there with them, if someone else's voice is heard through the student's microphone, or if somebody else tries to sit the exam for them. The behavioral analysis algorithms mean the system can be easily adapted to work with different people. The user's standard behavior is assessed by the system over time and taken into account. The more records of a student's behavior that are recorded in the Examus database, the more accurately their behavior can be predicted and understood. Did the student look because they were distracted, or to secretly glance at a crib sheet? The involvement of invigilators ensures violations can be detected accurately, even if little information on the student has been stored, and the fact of being observed also heightens the disciplinary effect. The invigilators deal with rule breakers appropriately. This gives Examus more flexibility in its reaction to student behavior, in line with the standards of each university. It also allows invigilators to clarify information in the event of disputes. Examus can be easily configured to suit different exam conditions, strict tests, where the use of any additional materials is forbidden, and more open examinations, where, for example, calculations can be made on paper outside the testing system. All data collected by Examus is transferred to educational institutions for in-depth analysis. Teachers can monitor the exam results of individual students, and all the data collected undergoes comprehensive processing to see if the testing methods need to be adjusted or examination tasks improved. The Examus Invigilator service allows you to set up a flexible ecosystem of online examinations, securely connecting student laptops to the university's LMS, Learning Management System.
Educational technology is now more important than ever. However, students and faculty often don't have enough guidance and can easily get overwhelmed with questions or issues they think they cannot resolve themselves. Many institutions struggle to provide this guidance to their faculty and students, preventing them from getting the most value out of their EdTech investments. EasySoft helps institutions guide users through in-app messaging, personalized support, and tool usage insights. Supporting over 2.5 million faculty and students globally, EasySoft can integrate with all the most popular learning applications. Tool adoption insights help you visualize and compare how your EdTech tools are being used by any student, faculty member, or course. Take action on adoption insights by targeting users with personalized messages anywhere within your learning management system. Messages can be anything from important announcements to explanations on how to complete tasks with specific EdTech tools. They are fully customizable and help you collect valuable user feedback. When your faculty and students need a little extra help, the EasySoft Support Center provides 24/7 self-support directly in your learning management system to ensure no user is left behind. Relevant help content is recommended automatically based on a user's role and context, and institution-specific help articles can be added to personalize the support experience. If a user still has unanswered questions, EasySoft's smart routing settings ensure their support request is sent to the right help desk, along with all relevant user information, cutting resolution time in half. Working on a big change like moving to a new LMS or introducing a new tool? Create a campaign to keep track of all your messages, help articles, and tool adoption monitors in one place and measure the impact of your efforts. Check out the EasySoft universe to get inspired by campaign examples from institutions around the world. Do you want to optimize the teaching and learning experience at your institution and get more value from your EdTech investments? Head over to www.easysoft.com to learn more.
These young people live in different cities and study different subjects at different universities. In just a few minutes, they are all going to take their exams. Some of them will do it from the comfort of their armchair, and others will go to a special exam centre. To ensure that they are all tested in the same way and that the grades are fair, the examination process must be carefully regulated. Enter Examus, an online invigilator service, or, in other words, a tool to help supervise students during an examination. Examus uses automated algorithms to identify students and analyze their behavior to detect violations of exam regulations. This information is then passed on to a human invigilator who monitors and adjusts the system. The user identification process is based on face recognition technology. The system compares an image from the student's webcam with one or more of their sample images. The invigilator then compares the images manually. This comprehensive method gives a 98% accurate user identification. What's more, there are plans to include additional identifying algorithms, such as electronic signatures, ECGs, and other biometric measurements. Examus automatically records any violations and informs the invigilator if the student looks away from the screen for longer than is warranted, if the active window on the computer suddenly changes, if the student leaves their desk, or if someone else is there with them, if someone else's voice is heard through the student's microphone, or if somebody else tries to sit the exam for them. The behavioral analysis algorithms mean the system can be easily adapted to work with different people. The user's standard behavior is assessed by the system over time and taken into account. The more records of a student's behavior that are recorded in the Examus database, the more accurately their behavior can be predicted and understood. Did the student look because they were distracted, or to secretly glance at a crib sheet? The involvement of invigilators ensures violations can be detected accurately, even if little information on the student has been stored, and the fact of being observed also heightens the disciplinary effect. The invigilators deal with rule breakers appropriately. This gives Examus more flexibility in its reaction to student behavior, in line with the standards of each university. It also allows invigilators to clarify information in the event of disputes. Examus can be easily configured to suit different exam conditions, strict tests, where the use of any additional materials is forbidden, and more open examinations, where, for example, calculations can be made on paper outside the testing system. All data collected by Examus is transferred to educational institutions for in-depth analysis. Teachers can monitor the exam results of individual students, and all the data collected undergoes comprehensive processing to see if the testing methods need to be adjusted or examination tasks improved. The Examus Invigilator service allows you to set up a flexible ecosystem of online examinations, securely connecting student laptops to the university's LMS, Learning Management System.
Educational technology is now more important than ever. However, students and faculty often don't have enough guidance and can easily get overwhelmed with questions or issues they think they cannot resolve themselves. Many institutions struggle to provide this guidance to their faculty and students, preventing them from getting the most value out of their EdTech investments. EasySoft helps institutions guide users through in-app messaging, personalized support, and tool usage insights. Supporting over 2.5 million faculty and students globally, EasySoft can integrate with all the most popular learning applications. Tool Adoption Insights help you visualize and compare how your EdTech tools are being used by any student, faculty member, or course. Take action on adoption insights by targeting users with personalized messages anywhere within your learning management system. Messages can be anything from important announcements to explanations on how to complete tasks with specific EdTech tools. They are fully customizable and help you collect valuable user feedback. When your faculty and students need a little extra help, the EasySoft Support Center provides 24/7 self-support directly in your learning management system to ensure no user is left behind. Relevant help content is recommended automatically based on a user's role and context, and institution-specific help articles can be added to personalize the support experience. If a user still has unanswered questions, EasySoft's smart routing settings ensure their support request is sent to the right help desk, along with all relevant user information, cutting resolution time in half. Working on a big change like moving to a new LMS or introducing a new tool? Create a campaign to keep track of all your messages, help articles, and tool adoption monitors in one place and measure the impact of your efforts. Check out the EasySoft universe to get inspired by campaign examples from institutions around the world. Do you want to optimize the teaching and learning experience at your institution and get more value from your EdTech investments? Head over to www.easysoft.com to learn more.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
These young people live in different cities and study different subjects at different universities. In just a few minutes, they are all going to take their exams. Some of them will do it from the comfort of their armchair, and others will go to a special exam centre. To ensure that they are all tested in the same way and that the grades are fair, the examination process must be carefully regulated. Enter Examus, an online invigilator service, or, in other words, a tool to help supervise students during an examination. Examus uses automated algorithms to identify students and analyze their behavior to detect violations of exam regulations. This information is then passed on to a human invigilator who monitors and adjusts the system.
Welcome back to our day 2 of the pre-Congress workshop. We would like to thank the following sponsors who helped make this event possible. Gold sponsors, EasySoft, IntelliBoard, Examus. Our pro sponsors, Motrain, Wiris, and Linode. We have starter sponsors, Poodle. So I believe everyone has recharged and ready for this afternoon session. Am I right? Hello, participants. Are you there?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So this afternoon, we will learn what Examus is all about and what Moodle is doing to provide the best tools for students so they can successfully continue learning under any circumstances. Now, allow me to introduce to you our first speaker. She is a graduate of philology. She grew interested in IT through open source, first as an interpreter and then as an evangelist. Now, with 15 ongoing experience in education, she's happy to find herself out on board with Examus team, which is a globally operating but closely knit teams of IT innovation enthusiasts looking out to change the concept of e-learning by improving the integrity of the online assessment. To talk about A1 proctoring, a win-win solution or two-edged sword against academic dishonesty, let us welcome Ms. Elena Eziak. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, hi everyone. I don't know if you can hear me or you can see me. Please wave your hand.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, it looks like I'm trying to share my video as well. Hopefully it will appear. Just to start by introducing myself face to face again. Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And
welcome, ma'am.
Yes, we are the Examus team, and I'm here on behalf of my company. But I would like to say a couple of words from myself at the start. So first of all, this is my first Moodlemoot experience, and which makes it already a very special occasion to me. And at the same time, on behalf of the whole team, I would like to thank the Nefila team, and you guys are doing a great job here because Moodlemoot is a wonderful experience which brings together people from education, from enterprise, and the technology. And this is a great chance for us to get together and to discuss a lot of topical questions and a lot of issues that perpetuate the world of e-learning today, which is one of those that I'm going to talk about. And I think this is the time that I can share my screen with you to start the presentation. Would you let me know, please, if my screen is visible?
Ma'am, we can see your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, yeah, I would like to reintroduce the topic and perhaps give you a brief summary of the talk that I would like to have today with you. And I'd rather prefer that it would not be kind of lecture, yeah, but a full-fledged discussion. So I don't know, yeah, maybe you can be posting questions right through in the process through the chat, yeah, and I will just revisit them afterwards. Or yeah, I'm very looking forward to your questions in the verbal format. So as you prefer, but the topic that I'm proposing is really one of the most pressing and topical issues which resonates very much in a lot of spheres, not only in education, but also in the corporate sphere and in business as well, because AI proctoring tools, which is also the solution, the tool that Examus is producing, is a very disputable and ambiguous thing that can bring you both a lot of advantages to bring you to add integrity to your e-learning, and at the same time it can also do a lot of harm, and it can also actually lead you into a lot of kind of trouble. So in my talk I would like to discuss the ways that the AI proctoring can help us all in solving our AI assessment issues. And at the same time, how can we avoid those downfalls and those risks which this wonderful technology brings us along the way? So that is why I put it this way. So AI proctoring can also be a win-win solution or a two-edged sword against academic dishonesty. So for those of you who might not be very well familiar with what the AI proctoring is about, well, this scheme is a general presentation of the concept. So the AI proctoring tools capture the data from the user's camera and microphone, and also the video from their desktop, as the test takers are taking their exams or doing some other kind of e-learning activity. Now, just as I have said, this applies to all kinds of e-learning, whether you are taking a quiz at the university or you are doing an aptitude HR test when you are being recruited to the job. So the idea is that the tool is going to collect this data and then analyze it using the computer vision and the AI. And then this data will get back to the exam administrators in the form of the full exam recording and different kinds of reports. So the way that the AI and the machine learning works is that it analyzes the data gathered from the user's desktop and microphone and from the computer, and it raises alerts if any suspicious activity is detected. So among the features that the AI can handle are the following. So in the first place, AI is used to do the face recognition, which is used to recognize some kind of user behaviors and emotions, like whether they are looking straight at the screen or whether they are looking away. It can also, if the AI is very developed, it can also detect some kind of, emotional things, like whether or not the person is concentrated enough. Well, but this, of course, is possible when you add some more functionality. It is also used for user identification, which is done in different methods by different solutions. It can do some particular activities during the test process, like whether it is still the same person who started the exam and proceeded from the break. Yeah, whether the person is alone in the room or there is somebody trying to scrap him through the questions. Whether the person is using some prohibited software like smartphones, or they're trying to plug in a secondary monitor. It also can detect whether a person is trying to access another website or run another application in the system. So basically, AI is the technology that monitors the test taker during the exam process and takes this burden away from the human invigilator. At least this is what it is supposed to do. So the real proctoring procedure can be done in different ways. So usually it is either the post-review proctoring, when the test taker is just face-to-face with the AI and the alerts created by the AI. And then probably, I say probably because there are different methods that is taken by different proctoring solutions. I will talk about the way that we use in our company, but just to give you the general introduction, I will not go into specifics right now. So the user is either left just eye to eye with the AI, with the cyber proctor, or they are monitored by the AI along with the human invigilator, and this is called real-time proctoring. Now, to give you some live perspective of what it is, let me just give you 2 glimpses of the video from our system and from Moodle, of course. So here it is. So this is what the post-review proctoring looks like for one person. The student is taking a regular Moodle quiz, and there is this iframe here at the right, which shows their video. And you can see that as the student is talking, the system generates alerts which appear as pop-up messages both to the user, and they are also tracked on the system side. So this is just the way that all kinds of alerts are handled. And this is the real-time proctoring when you have several test takers per screen, and you have AI alerts generated for each of them. So the human invigilator needs to be concentrated enough so as to handle this process, both confirming the AI alerts and probably looking into some of the sessions if they are more suspicious than the others. So after the exam admins get different kinds of reports, whether this can be an overall report, which will be tracking all the proctored exam sessions during a particular day or probably even a particular week, or it can be a session report, which will list all the AI alerts which were created by the system and which will ultimately give you the result of the proctored exam as something between pass and not pass. So, of course, we need to differentiate between the test results and the proctoring results. But in the ideal world, let's say, we have 100% confirmation that a person who had 100% score at the test will have the lowest cheating score because they did the exam honestly. Now, is it really as it is in the real world? So, unfortunately, or let us say in the reality that we live in, remote proctoring excuse me, was I muted?
Okay, ma'am, you're not muted na.
Okay, thank you. So as for the remote proctoring, in the real world, it really creates more expectations than it can live up to. And remote proctoring as a technology also has its downfalls, which creates a lot of risks. Now, what are they and how do we balance this? So in terms of opportunities, the first thing that AI does, excuse me, oops, seem to have a problem with animation a little. So as for the opportunities, the first thing that all people using this technology count on is that they are going to run their exams or tests on a regular scale. So when the pandemic struck, of course, it created a huge risk to undermining the normal business flow and the normal study process. So using AI technology gives everybody a chance to conduct online tests or exams just as they usually would do in real life. So they can do their K2 exams with all of the schools sitting in for maths tests at the same time, or they can do a huge staff assessment, having 2K people passing one aptitude test or quiz at the same time. So this is what the technology actually allows to, like our system can support up to 20,000 concurrent users. But what are the risks of that? The risks fall within the usability and accessibility of service, basically, because first of all, it creates some privilege and advantage to those who are more digitally literate, other to those users who perhaps are not so very good with using computers, because sometimes passing a proctored exam is really something, well, it just requires some more skills from you than passing a real quiz. So this is why usability and accessibility can be at risk. The second opportunity, which is something that all people who manage the exams dream of, is having a direct control of the exam flow and of the test taker's behavior. So, of course, the AI, which is a powerful technology, can detect a lot of things. And if you use AI plus human invigilation, it gives you even more verification that your exam result is correct. But what is the downfall to that? Now, maybe, and I think that, well, to anybody who is familiar and who is keeping an eye on the technology nowadays, yeah, everybody knows that proctoring raises a lot of concerns in terms of invading the user's privacy. And of course, you know, we are now living in a funny world where everybody would not think twice before they post a short video of how they brush their teeth on a TikTok or Instagram, and nobody would give second thoughts to privacy in this case. But it really is another thing where a test taker would be strictly opposed to showing a 360 degrees pan of their room to the exam taker or to the tutor. And these concerns should be really taken seriously and should not be underestimated, because yes, the data privacy is something that is an ultimate value today. And it is a huge challenge both to the technology and to the educators or to the enterprise of how to guarantee the personal data integrity while using the AI, and how probably to avoid the possible conflicts with the test takers. The third thing that I would like to discuss is that, yes, the proctoring tools are supposed to give you fact-proof confirmation of exam results. And of course, we rely on our reports, whether it's a single session report or the general report, we rely on its integrity and accuracy. But again, in the real world, we live in a world where human bias can seep into technology as well. And sometimes it can be culture specific when the technology will not be able to handle the color of the skin, or sometimes it may create some false positive result because, well, you know, if a person is taking an exam and they would suddenly feel unwell, there would be somebody naturally approaching them with a glass of water, and the AI will naturally trigger this second person in frame alert, yeah, which is not a violation in this case, but which cannot be handled purely by technical means. So that is why accuracy of the AI-based assessment should really be taken very seriously, and there are some things which should be handled and taken into consideration. Now, how do we really get the best of the opportunities with minimizing the risks? Now, let me please share some of the experience that our team has while doing the proctoring services, while providing the proctoring services for more than 4 years, I believe, for now. So let me deal with each of these risks separately. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I forgot one more thing, which is the ultimate point, by the way, that I wanted to make separately. Yes, to be sure. Yeah, we all want that the AI proctoring would eliminate the cheating problem as is. And the problem to that is that by trying to be overprotective, we can also limit and violate the user rights, which leads us to all those kinds of disputes and ambiguities which surround the AI as a technology. So once again, revisiting the risks from the examiner's perspective. So what do we do? First of all, to simplify the configuration, the setup procedure, and to guarantee the ease of use to our customers, whether these are exam admins or tutors or test takers. What we did is we did the deep Moodle, Examiners plus Moodle integration. which means that we have a fully certified Moodle plugin, which is downloadable from the website. And it only takes no more than 2 hours for the Examus plugin to configure in Moodle. So for the tutors, it is a very easy thing to create a quiz or test in Moodle in a regular way. They just add a proctoring restriction when they set the test, and then they are free to schedule their exam, to add the timing, and basically to enroll the test takers in it. And as for the test takers experience, so we really appreciate it when the system is maximum user-friendly, and that means that the test takers should not be put to any stress when they are about to pass an exam with Examus. So this kind of advantage of the integration is that the test taker can log into their usual LMS without any specific mess with additional software or credentials. Then they just pass the authentication procedure with Examus and they proceed to the test. Now, again, let me please verify it by some video extracts. So this is what it looks like for the tutor to set up the exam using our Moodle plugin. Now, for everybody who has already used Moodle, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are very well proficient with that, you do recognize this procedure of creating a test within a course, right? So Examus is already installed in the system, and it means that you should not do anything specific. So you set the timing, you enable the availability of your test, then you may specify the number of attempts that your user can take. And the only thing that you need to add is restrict the access using the Examus restriction. So it works perfectly in line with Moodle. So you can set it to the same time that your test lasts. You can specify the type of proctoring that you use. You can specify the exam rules, which will be shown clearly to the student and which will show them what they are allowed to do during the test and what kind of materials they're supposed to use and what is forbidden. So after that, you simply configure the quiz in the normal way. And the pleasure of that, I guess, is that Examus does not limit your Moodle functionality. So you can use it to any kind of Moodle activity that you would like to use, either a quiz type or a verbal type, because Examus is also fit for verbal exams, for oral exams functionality. So let me switch to the user interface right now. So I would like to make sure that I'm not mute now, hopefully not. Yeah, so this is what it takes for the user to log in to Moodle and to Examus at the same time. So as I said, no specific credentials are needed. So the user just enters their normal Moodle login and password. They log into the system. They get to their familiar dashboard and find the course where they need to take the test in. The only addition now is that because we have set the restriction, the user can only access this test by the link, or it can be an image or a picture or anything that you would like it to be. So then they proceed to the test, again, in the normal way. They click start, and this is where they get to Examus. And they need to pass 3 steps of authentication. The first step is going through the exam rules. Now, everything which you would like your user to know and to confirm and to be aware of before they proceed to exam can be brought here in any language and any format. So they can get to know what are the user requirements for taking a proctoring exam, like providing adequate lighting, having low noise, and so on. So the idea is that they should accept to the exam rules. And as soon as they do this, they pass to the second step, which is checking if their system is okay with passing the exam. Now, here they share the credentials, they give us the credentials like you usually do with any kind of video conferencing software like Zoom or Google Meet. So they need to pass the system check stage, but of course it is not correct if we do this one time just before the exam. So this can be done during a trial exam or just any time on our website. So after the user provides us these basic permissions, they get to the third step, and this is going to be the user identification, which again can take different forms depending on what the institution wants it to be like. So in the simplest way, when we are working in the post-review exam mode, the user just takes a photo from the webcam and sends it to the server. Then they get 30 seconds to show us the span of their room or showing us their desk, just like you prefer it to be. And then they proceed to the test with all the exam rules that we have configured, which they are allowed and not allowed to use. And they take their test just as it was supposed to be taken. So that is all that Examus adds to the procedure. So, excuse me. Yep. Now, as for the user data concerns and everything which refers to our methods of doing the managing the data privacy issues. Now, the key thing here is to balance between transparency and security. The things which are supposed to be transparent are the way that we request the user data to be processed during the exam. Now, with Examus, the only user data that we use, and we can naturally take it from the Moodle profile. So the only data of the test taker that we need is their full name and their email. Nothing else is required. But of course, this is clearly specified in all the instructions that we provide, both to the customers and to the test takers. And of course, we have all the information about how we process the data and where it is stored, and like in what time, during what time it is stored, and when it will be totally deleted from the system. So we provide the sustainable server infrastructure and the scalability to the volume of assessment that the customer needs. And this is done by supporting a large stack of servers globally, so that your data will not travel overseas to be processed and then gets back. So these things are supposed to be transparent. And at the same time, we also favor that our system is compliant both with the international and the local data privacy laws and legislation. This refers to using GDPR in Europe, for example, or any kind of let's say, corporate data privacy acts, which can be issued just within one company. So here, the important thing is that we need to guarantee the security and at the same time be very open to the users of what we collect and how we process that. And it is not possible that we would take more data from the user than that the user is aware of. So this was the data privacy concern. Now, for the accuracy of the result, which perhaps is the most pressing issue. Now, as I said, the AI tools are, of course, very sensitive to different kinds of misbehaviors. And what you get with the final report, apart from all the actions, apart from the recording, of course, and apart from all the actions which were listed to this exam, you get this kind of cheating score calculation, which has a threshold between the pass and not pass. And the higher the cheating score is, the more violations were detected by the cyberproctor. But the question is, can we rely on cyberproctor only? The answer is no. So what do we do to improve the accuracy of the results? So first of all, just as you can set the exam rules for each exam in Moodle, You can also add some specific criteria for the violation score to be more precise when you configure the proctoring tool itself. So what we can do is we can set, or the customer can do it themselves, and this can be done directly from Moodle actually. So they can add weight to all kinds of violation, and they can decide themselves what is more important for them and which user behaviors maybe are more related to cheating than the others. So why is it used? Is because in different types of exams, we need to be aware of the circumstances that this test takes. So, for instance, if your students are taking the exam in a test center, or maybe if they just reside in a student's dormitory and they just cannot leave their room where there are other people present because, well, they are somehow limited to the basic availability of a computer. Yeah. So naturally, if you understand and in advance that there will be some other people present in the video frame, you can set the second person in frame to 0 because well, this is not likely to be considered a violation. Or if your students are doing an open book exam, or if they're doing a pen and paper test, they will naturally not be looking at the screen all the time. So that is why it is important that the wrong gaze direction will not be a critical issue which the AI will detect as a violation. So you do this initially when you configure your exam rules, but then when you set the cheating indicator threshold, yeah, so this is this line between the pass and not pass. You basically decide how strict you would like to be, and that is related to what kind of exam you have. And this is a decision that should be done by the customer, whether it is an enterprise customer or an educational institution. So you need to understand whether this is a high-stake assessment where everything counts, yeah? Or maybe this is just a continuing on-course test, which probably allows the users to be more free and probably even access this kind of freedom by using notes or by using books. Yeah, so this threshold is also configurable. And this is what you do prior to the exam. But the key thing is that once your students have passed the exam, and of course, this should be done during the trial exam, not the real exams. So once the exam is passed, you need to verify the result. And you need to understand how accurate your settings were initially, and whether the AI does not generate too many alerts which are false positive and which are not in the user's interest. So for instance, here, the student is looking away from the screen too often, so this session should not pass. And this one will pass because the user is concentrated on what they see on the screen. But again, does it match your quiz contents or your test contents? Yeah, so that is why you can actually refine and fine-tune this cheating score until you get the best precision. So finally, you can go to the exam configuration and you can try different settings until you receive the result, which is satisfactory to your needs and to your assessment requirements. But there is one more point to that. However accurate your AI is and however good your settings are, you cannot eliminate the false positive totally. And this is why we recommend that the human proctor will always make a final decision. So when you are doing a real-time proctoring, well, this is natural, this is innated in the process because the human invigilator confirms the AI alerts just at the time of exam. But when you are doing the post-review exam, it is also better that somebody will look into the recording afterwards and check what the AI has detected. Because, so this is the real exam session sample. And we can see that the person is looking somewhere at the screen and maybe pronouncing something. they are maybe reading the questions aloud, and it is only the human ear, which can distinguish what is actually being said. Again, is it somebody who approached the test taker to offer a cup of tea, or are they trying to dictate the questions? The AI can only track the voice, but it's only the human ear which can actually understand what is going on there and whether the alert is applicable or not. And finally, well, this is my favorite example of how the false positive can bring your test result accuracy to 0. So yes, you really need to make sure that the second person in frame alert is real, because once we had a case where a person has failed the test because of the proctoring result, and it was because of the second person detected. And the reason was they were wearing a T-shirt with the American president's face on it. And naturally, as the test taker was moving, the face was moving too. So the poor student had to thank Sir Donald Trump for not passing his exam, which is ridiculous, but which is rather stressful for them. So that is why leaving the final decision to the human proctor is always the best policy. Now, as for the user right, first of all, we value the ultimate and the extensive user support opportunities. So we provide support in different time zones, timed to the exam schedule. And the user support is available both as a web interface, so they can access it by email, they can access it via a chatbot or a fresh desk. And it is important that examiners will provide support all through the exam time, including trial exams, to troubleshoot the possible technical issues during system check, to deal with some service connection and system check issues in the exam, because it is important that somebody will be quick to help if something goes wrong, if the internet connection is down, for example. We also deal the workplace preparation question and also manage the second attempt and retake requests. And another thing which is very important for us is we always recommend the institution to provide the first line of support, which is we provide the guidance and training to the institution's employees, whether these are the LMS admins who are to set up the test, the tutors, or the proctors. And finally, the multilingual interfaces, which are inbuilt in the system. Well, I cannot bet that we have just as many languages as Moodle does, because Moodle, I think, has over 200 languages, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even more. So we have not as many as that, but we can always localize our interface in no more than 2 weeks' time, so as it would fit into the particular exam requirements. And finally, coming to the user right. Now, the important thing is that, as I said, we need to respect the users' rights and basically their possibilities of, first of all, taking the wrong step. Now, we can improve the AI precision to eliminate this kind of cultural bias that I was speaking about. Like, we can train it to recognize human faces better, and we can limit the deliberate cheating by training the AI and by adding the human experience there. But the important thing is that even when you're sure that your test taker is a cheater, in our system, if you take a real-time exam, you can just press this little cross sign and it will kick them out of the exam with the message that they have violated the rules, and this is very serious. Now, we do understand these concerns because sometimes the students might try to copy the questions or just take some snapshots of them, and this is a violation to the to your intellectual property as an examiner. But the important thing is that sometimes it is better to collect more evidence, and to present it to the user afterwards, instead of breaking the exam or stopping the exam right away and then entering into conflicts. So this is perhaps where we can enter into discussion, because I know that, well, there are other points of view to that, but in my personal opinion, it is always better to let the person finish the exam and then present them with the evidence of their cheating than just to kick them out of the exam and then again raise some opportunity to well, present some counter arguments and to enter into dispute. So finally, the idea is that cheating as a problem can probably never be eliminated totally. So we can eliminate the most common cases, and we can manage some things which are maybe on behalf of the technology, but anything which refers to e-learning is a part of a culture. And everything which is a part of a culture is not innate. We are not born with it. So the idea is, if we move towards academic honesty from the academic dishonesty, we need to raise this awareness and we need to promote this kind of culture. So sometimes giving more rights and more understanding even to the person who did create a cheating attempt during one exam will probably make them learn and make them understand and appreciate honesty as a value afterwards. So that is why Examus and our basic product policy principle is that Examus is always on the user side. And to finalize my talk here, I would also like to make a point that we even want it to be easily readable from this message, yeah, that we are always on the student side, should be easily readable even from our logo. So this is the change that we introduced quite recently. And this is the change to our motto, which is here. So initially, it would go like, "Brother Examus is watching you," which would remind you, or some of you, I guess, of the George Orwell's dystopian novel, 1994, where all people were under surveillance of some kind of technology that ensured that they were always in a good mood and doing the right thing. So, you know, we approached this thing again, yeah, and like at the second thought, we just realized that nobody is like to being watched. And actually thinking about AI proctoring as a tool of surveillance is where it hits our deeper feelings. And this is not what we like to be. So that is why that everything that we do to our solution and everything that we propose to our customers as a service is something which creates a win-win situation. And that is why we substituted this by a clearer message. So the ultimate idea that Examus carries to its customers is that we want to help you to keep an eye on your success. And this is where everybody wins, and we actually get to a better world where the e-learning is something to stay and where everybody is just equally privileged and successful in that. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Elena, for that very interesting talk about Examus. We have questions here. I will read some.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the first question is, are there violation signals? Are the violation signals pre-configured? Do we need to install the Examus on end device of student? How much bandwidth, CPU, and memory required for this application? And what are the costing models? From Harcharan?
Yeah, thank you very much for such specific questions straight away. Let me deal with them one by one. So, yeah, well, as for the alerts, yeah, which the system generates per exam, yes, they are very configurable. So you can turn them on and off depending on what kind of exam you have. So you can turn them off completely on the user side so that your test takers will not be distracted from their tests, for example, but all these alerts will still be on the part of the system. Or you can just do this, well, again, tailored to your type of exam. So if the alert of the wrong gaze detection is not relevant, yeah, you can just turn it off. And well, this is how it is managed. So the bandwidth requirements are 1 megabit per second, which is one of the lowest rates compared to other solutions of this types. And let me also add here that Examus operates globally, which includes the regions with really problematic internet connectivity, like some countries in the Middle East, for example, where you can have no internet connection for several hours. So of course there are some limits to that. So there are some problems which can be managed within the system and which can be managed within the service, like providing a second attempt for free. Yeah, if the test taker did not finish their exam because of the long internet connection break. Yeah, but everything which can be done on the part of the service is provided, of course. So what were the other two?
Okay. Next question is, I would like to know, yes, ma'am?
Yes, excuse me. I just recalled one more question from the same batch. Yeah, about installing the application.
Okay.
No,
what are
Examus
the models? Okay.
Examus does not need to be installed when used with Moodle, because in Moodle you just need to configure the plugin, which is downloaded and installed in the system. So the test takers do not install anything. If Examus is used without integration with some closed code, some specific LMS testing system, or if you would like your exam to be more secure, like you would like, if you want to probably, if you want to close all the possibilities for the user to access other applications or websites totally, so if you want the lockdown browser, so then we have the browser-based version, which has this functionality. But with Moodle, no, nothing needs to be installed.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Another question from Christy DeRoy. I would like to know if Examus will still work even without the teacher's presence during the exam.
Of course, naturally. So this depends on which type of proctoring you prefer for your specific exam. So if you go for post-review proctoring, the procedure will be the student takes the exam monitored by AI, and then, just as we recommend, for the final decision to be made by a human. So then after the exam, the tutor or the proctor or the professional reviewer is going to go to the video archive, review the recording, and make the final decision of the proctoring status, whether it was okay or controversial. So, and if you have real-time proctoring exam, there are multiple ways how we can do that. So you can have a student, let's say in one digital room, taking the test. There will be the proctor, the professional proctor, or somebody of the customer's employees watching them, let's say in another virtual room. And there will be the tutor, like a teacher, who can, let's say, well, take a glimpse of what is going on in the third room, and they will see what the test taker is doing and what the proctor is doing at the same time. So this is called the status rooms. So you can have 3 roles at the same time, and of course the exam will go on if somebody, if the proctoring type is correct, yeah, and if it is supposed to be done without a tutor, it can be done without a tutor.
Okay. Now, and last question from Mr. Ryan Christopher. Is Examus available in Moodle app?
Yes, sure. This is where you can get the plugin from. And so you can just Google it as Moodle Examus plugin. and it will get you exactly to the page where you can download the plugin. You can install it, but you will not be able to activate it fully without the help of our team, because when the integration takes place, the customer will need to provide some details from their system to us, and we provide some details of our specifications to them. Yeah, so it will need some help on our side to configure. But as I think can be confirmed by the Moodle, but by the Nebula team who were installing our plugin in this for this event, it can be done easily, and it will not take you long to install the full system. So it will be up and running in 2 hours.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Elena, for that very interesting talk about Examos. I believe Examos will really a big help to our educators and invigilators in facilitating examinations. So we will be sending you, ma'am, the link to the forum so you can answer other questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Please have a nice day. Goodbye.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Okay, so we'll now proceed to our next topic for this afternoon. So our next speaker earned computer science degree from the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid and MBA from the University of Barcelona. He has more than 15 years of experience with Moodle and EdTech. He is also a Moodlemoot presenter and Moodle plugins developer since 2007. To talk about Moodle App and the branded Moodle App, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the Moodlemoot Apps Project